Hey forum, my name is Manny, aka CascadeScents. Welcome to another video. As you see by the title, this one is on my top 10 fall designer fragrances 2020. Of course, this fall is going to be a little bit different, or a lot different, with the ongoing pandemic, at least here where I live in North America. So much to the chagrin of some of you guys, I'm actually going to have a little bit more creative offerings here. Not everything here is going to be as mainstream as they might usually be. Perhaps even some less outgoing offerings if you want to look at it that way. But actually, I think this is a really good thing because I'll take this time to actually experiment with some offerings that I might not normally do. That being said, I feel like for what you're getting here out of each of these fragrances, a lot of them are worth it at retail, but if you can find them on the low on discounters, definitely do so as well. Anyway, we might as well kick it off with a countdown starting off at number 10 here. This is Spicebomb by Viktor&Rolf. Now, if you're not familiar with Spicebomb, I presume you are kind of new when it comes to fragrances or the fragrance community altogether. Viktor&Rolf themselves actually advertised this scent as a weapon of mass seduction, which I think is pretty apropos considering the fact that it definitely pulls in compliments. So here we're talking a cinnamon and pimento vom off the top. Very aggressive for the most part, and people are bound to get whiffs of that very scent cloud. But with that being said, once it starts to dry down, or if people come closer into your scent cloud, they will get whiffs of notes of the further more cozy or seductive kinds. So we're talking about tobacco. We got this white leather accord that they advertise as well, which I think is also really nice. And yeah, overall, I think it's hard to hate unless you just have a vendetta against spicy fragrances. So yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, but unfortunately, that's also why it is ranked really low this year. Typically, if I'm finna rank something like Spicebomb, it's going to be higher up on the totem pole here. It's such an outgoing offering that I actually typically like wearing it more for other people rather than myself. And seeing as I don't think I'm finna be getting together with a lot of people this fall, I'm actually putting this kind of proven favorite a little bit on the back burner. That being said, it's still worth it for my number 10 spot on the list, so you can't go wrong again with this one. It is Spicebomb by Viktor&Rolf. Alright, for moving on to my number 9 designer fall scent now, here we go. It's by Chopard. It's called Musk Malaki. Now, I've spoken of fellow Malaki scents by Chopard on this channel before, most notably Amber Malaki, and typically the Malaki approach is where they take one centrifugal note and they complement it to the best of their ability with the supporting notes, but in a big way. Typically, these fragrances perform quite a bit. I mean, they have to, because I feel like this is their line that they are advertising towards more of a Middle Eastern audience. But with that being said, what I like about the musk is it's also not stanky. It's just a big, clean, white-ish kind of musk. Very captivating, very enveloping stuff. And with the right amount of body heat, it's for sure going to project a lot off of your skin. Added notes like cedarwood, black pepper, even a little bit of leather in the base. Those notes are more so there just to keep it from going too musky. So you're going to have a little bit of dimension here in this scent. But for the most part, it is a really big, unbridled musk. One that you might also want to try if you like stuff like Narciso Rodriguez for him, Eau de Parfum. I really love the iris in that scent, but despite that, some people might feel like it's a little too austere, a little too posh perhaps in a more domineering kind of way. Or maybe you like floral stanky musks like Original Musk by Kiehl's. But sometimes with something like that, the animalistic nuances are just a little too much for what you might want it for. So for reasons like that, between those two kind of well-known fragrances, that's why I really like something like this. I feel like it's a nice in-between. And again, on top of that, it still has the performance to boot. So if you're looking for an alternative yet familiar take on musk, definitely check this out by Chopard. It's Musk Malaki, my number 9 fall fragrance. Moving on to my number 8 fall fragrance, here we go. It's by Allsaints. It's called Sunset Riot. And I've lamented about this one in the past. I really do think that it deserves to have more love as far as being an alternative to what it's based off of. And of course, that is Baccarat Rouge 540 by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. But I really do feel like that scent does a good job of doing what it is, and that's like this candy type of woods kind of scent that just seems to be a compliment bomb. So people typically fall in love with a DNA like that and they feel like they had no choice but to just get it. That being said, if you are balling on a budget and maybe you want a more subdued version of something like that, definitely check this guy out right here. What I like about Sunset Riot the most is that it feels like a further more summery version of Baccarat Rouge 540, so part of you might feel like it is actually more versatile than the initial Baccarat Rouge. So instead of a super candied approach, you have something here that's a little bit more orange flower driven. Still sweet, but a little sharp with a citrus touch then. And the rest of its scent cloud comes off as slightly reminiscent of that BR 540 Magical Dry Down. A light cedarwood in the base, but one that is sure to grab you some compliments if it's projecting enough off of your skin. If anything, I am reserving this for almost right now during the year, before it gets too cold throughout the fall, mean? Like, this is actually one of my favorite times to be wearing fragrances because it's like almost fall, but still summery enough to wear stuff like this. A fragrance that is light enough to wear during the daytime and kind of just spam all over yourself, but one that should have enough bite before having to reapply. If all you care about is maybe a little bit of longevity in the form of a skin scenty dry down. So yeah, definitely one of those scents that if people walk by you, they just want to keep coming in for more. And then it's on you to tell them if it's really the real thing or if it's this stuff by Allsaints. So definitely check this out if you've yet to, if you're balling on a budget. Again, it's Sunset Riot at number 8. Alright, for moving on to the number 7 fall designer fragrance. Here we go. It's by Lalique. It's called Encre Noire. Now, Encre Noire is just woods galore. So we're talking this woody green opening with vetiver acetate as well as that cypress, which I typically love in fragrances. It's just a masculine kind of green invigorating, feels kind of old worldly, so I really dig that. But somehow with the rest of the fragrance, different kinds of vetivers, different kinds of woods, it somehow also feels inky, like the inspiration of the bottle here. So people at times have described this scent as like an inky vetiver or an inky woody scent, and I have to say that I agree with that sentiment, but it's not like an inky sensation that feels like it's dripping off your skin. It's more one that you're only going to get if you like to get wafts directly off of yourself. I feel like that's more of a sensation for the wearer. Otherwise, it's a green yet dark woody scent that I still think that is safe enough for most situations. So don't feel like this is too challenging, because I personally don't again think it is. It's one of those fragrances that I like wearing that you can perhaps get on the discount level, not pay a whole lot for it, and I'll just spam all over myself when I'm out for a walk or doing errands, when I just want something that gets the job done that has a little bit of a rugged masculine edge. This is what I reach for. So again, if you are looking for an alternative take on a woody scent, definitely check this out if you've somehow yet to. It is Encre Noire by Lalique. Alright, for moving on to the number 6 fall designer fragrance on the list, here we go. It's by Mugler. It's Amen Pure Malt. Now it's weird because this scent has been around for years and I've yet to rank it on any of my lists, but I feel like now it's time to bust this guy out. If you're the type to kick back at home during this pandemic and you want to spend time with your loved ones, perhaps over a glass of whiskey on or off the rocks, why not spray this stuff to help enhance that mood as well? So to help achieve a more accessible malt whiskey accord, you also have a little bit of fruitiness in the opening here, a little bit of orange among other fruits too. Helps ease it into a more vanillic, cedar, ambery, coffee, patchouli dry down. And then speaking of the coffee and patchouli here, it's not supported by anything that feels like tar, if that makes any sense if you're familiar with the OG Amen fragrance. So take some of the gourmand boozy sweetness from that initial scent, but without it feeling rather dark in any sort of way. That's what I like about the scent. It's a light, fruity, yet somewhat malty whiskey kind of dry down, which of course you would expect because it's called pure malt. That being said, I must say if you are trying to pick the scent up, in my personal experience, it doesn't shout off my skin quite as loudly like a pure Tonka, like a pure Havana, or even the original. So just be careful about that if you're seeking a bomb of a whiskey or boozy scent, because I don't think that is this. Again, you know what I'm going to be reaching for this for, just kicking back at home with the homies. Not really trying to impress anyone too much. So if that's you this pandemic as well, definitely check this out. Again, it's Amen Pure Malt by Mugler. Alright, for I'm crossing the halfway point, here we go with the number 5 fall designer fragrance on the list. And this one is called Orchidée Vanille by Van Cleef and Arpels. Now for if you are unfamiliar with La Collection Extraordinaire, of course this is the higher end line of Van Cleef and Arpels fragrances. So of course it goes without saying this stuff is not cheap on the retail level, but if you are looking for something that's super high quality, like from that retail level, but don't want to pay that, definitely check out for this one on discounters. We're talking insane discounts for this and other things within its line. That being said, the reason why I listed this one and not some of the other ones is because some of the ones that are most known from this brand that aren't this fragrance are typically clone-ish. This one is completely original. Orchidée Vanille takes Bulgarian rose as well as violet and creates this kind of floral accord that makes it come off as like an orchid. No, don't worry, this one does not smell like black orchid. They actually have another clone for that. The orchid here rather leans kind of dry, mainly because the more gourmand notes here are super dry. So usually dark chocolate or maybe bitter almond would just drip off my skin. Sometimes they'll just come off as syrupy. They really don't here, especially with a drier type of vanilla. If anything, I'm just getting a really big floral dry vanilla, one that's rather linear, but one if I overspray a little will just super project if I'm going for that during this pandemic. So I must say that this is a compliment monster for actual female friends that I know wear this stuff. I'm not sure about myself personally, se. Like if I would be thought of to be smelling like a snack per se. But gents, typically you might want to go a little bit more subdued. So I think for a scent like this that kind of leans stuffy, you might not want to spray it as hard if you don't want it to be mistaken for something that comes off as perfumey per se. But yeah, for awesome dry floral sweetness that is kind of slept on, definitely check this out on the low. It's Orchidée Vanille by Van Cleef and Arpels. Alright, for moving on to the number 4 fall fragrance designer wise this time, here we go. It is by Hermès. It's called Rocabar. Now, Rocabar takes inspiration from Hermès's history of making really elaborate and colorful horse blankets, believe it or not. So typically, if you would be riding something like that through a field or some sort of woods, you're getting like the brisk, cool air, perhaps smelling a little bit more of the resin part of the woods. Say if you're somewhere really cool and picturesque, I think that would be quite the story if you were able to do something like that. I've never personally rode a horse myself, but yeah, that's what this is trying to kind of capture in a bottle. And in my mind, they actually kind of do it. I'm getting a lot of what they advertise as balsam fir as well as cypress. Again, I've lamented in the past that I'm a sucker for cypress scents. Again, just feels really old worldly. I guess back to a time of when we used to rock horses. So yeah, I think that's really pretty. On top of that, this dries down into a rather cozy kind of cedar. So honestly, I'd say that this feels really gentlemanly at first, but one that feels less domineering as time goes on. Like a good hour or two in, I feel like it's just a really chilled out scent that you know that Hermès is fond of. You know, they just love subdued takes on nature. So if you like stuff like this in Encre Noire, which I previously featured, want something that perhaps feels a little bit more gentlemanly and not as aggressive, definitely again check this out. Way too underrated, way too underappreciated and overlooked. It's Rocabar by Hermès. Now moving on to the next fall fragrance, here we go at number 3. This one is Noir Extreme by Tom Ford, or Noir Extreme. Now out of all the fragrances here to make you most feel like a snack, I feel like this one's the most delicious. That's why it's highest up on this list as far as anything that kind of leans gourmand. And despite being from one of the most notorious brands perhaps in Tom Ford, I feel like this takes an even more unique approach than some of those aforementioned sweeter scents. And that's by having the South Asian, more specifically Indian inspiration of notes in here. Like kulfi for Pete's sakes. Like who would actually think to do something like that? Kulfi, if you don't know, is Indian ice cream. So typically you have a lot of flavors consisting of pistachio, almond, saffron, stuff like that. You get this really oriental spicy sweetness here, but one that still feels like more like a fragrance rather than just being gourmand. So I feel like it treads that line perfectly of you smelling like a real snack and you just coming into a room and just feeling like you're on cloud 9 with your drip, you're ready to go out with the boys. It's just a lot of fun with a really foreign inspiration of notes. I just really appreciate that uniqueness. So a nutty, spicy, kind of enveloping kind of sweet on top of a touch of amber. Just really don't have any major takeaways or negatives about this. And to be quite honest, if this was a normal kind of fall, one that isn't as full psycho with the pandemic and whatnot, it'd probably occupy one of the top 2 spots. Because to me, it is the outgoing scent of the list if I had to pick just one. So yeah, definitely check it out if you've yet to. It's Noir Extreme or Noir Extreme by Tom Ford. Alright, for moving on to the number 2 fragrance on this list and the longest title on the list as well. This is by Bvlgari. It's called Eau Parfumée, Eau Thé Noir, Eau de Cologne Intense. Wow, I'm pretty happy with just being able to get through that. That being said, I've named some really unique fragrances out here, but this might be the most unique on the list. The name here in French, Eau Thé Noir, refers to black tea, of course, more specifically Chinese black tea here. So it goes through a heavy fermentation process. It's going to smell a lot deeper as a result, which I think is very fitting because maybe a more effervescent green tea would not be really well paired with some of the notes that they paired this with. It would maybe smell too fresh and the kind of contrast would be a little bit too much. But here to have this with more voluptuous notes like a rose, for example, I think is really pretty. Typically you see rose paired with oud or maybe vanilla or maybe patchouli, but to see a bright Bulgarian rose here with the tea, I just think is really nice. Again, I think it really complements the tea here in a brighter, just more welcoming way. And then as that stuff starts to dissipate, you're gonna have a little bit more of that patchouli and oud coming in. Again, notes that I previously said would pair awesome with the rose. But again, it's not that kind of scent because it's a rose dissipating and it's a tea here that just seems to stay at every stage of this fragrance. So it definitely does feel like an intense tea fragrance, but one that doesn't scream off your skin. I know some of you want maybe a patchouli or an oud to shout more more often than not, but most tea scents don't scream, especially ones from the Parfumée line. That's how they're able to keep this consistent, I guess. So to me, to have a creative take on tea being the star of the show and everything else not being the star this time, and rather complementing it, I just think is really cool. So definitely check this out if you've yet to, if you're looking for a more sophisticated, kind of indoor, subdued, introspective scent. Again, it's Eau Parfumée Eau Noire Eau de Cologne Intense by Bvlgari. Freaking nailed it. Alright, for them, last but not least, or rather best for last, here we go with the very #1 spot. My fall king this year is this stuff right here. It's Yoyogi by Comme des Garçons x Monocle. Now this is the 4th collaboration between lifestyle company and publishing giant Monocle and Comme des Garçons Parfum, and this is so far my favorite collaboration. The inspiration for this scent is to take a jog through the city park of Yoyogi out in Tokyo. So we're talking damp, sweet green notes that's a little cozy because keep in mind this is Tokyo, Japan, so you're gonna have more of this zen-like aura around it. So we have one of my favorite notes yet again in cypress everywhere, which is awesome. A little bit of a fresh cut grass accord as well, so if you're into grassy scents, definitely also have to check this stuff out. But what I really like about this most is this more mystifying yet intoxicating wormwood note. Wormwood being the primary note in absinthe, which is typically at least 90 proof, which is freaking insane. So I guess if you want to look at it another way, you can say that this scent is not just green and zen, but it's a little fun at the same time. But part of why the scent has furthermore meaning for me and why it also tops this list is that I actually wore this scent to Yoyogi Park with the boys last February. It was the last time I got to travel with friends or loved ones, so shout outs to Imagine Scent and Gen Scents for that, and just reminds me to not take the time that we have with family or loved ones for granted, especially during times like these. So that's why I like to commemorate that trip and memory with this stuff right here. On top of that, I just love the concept of a green morning jog through one of the most renowned parks in the world. If that at all is cool or romantic for you, definitely check this out if you've yet to. It's the perfect green casual scent of the year, and also perfect for chilling by yourself within this pandemic. Once again, it is Yoyogi, the 4th collaboration between Comme des Garçons and Monocle. Alright, forum, before we conclude this video, I, Manny from the not so distant past and or future, has something to say on behalf of our beloved sponsor for today, and that is Encre. Encre makes these really premium wallets that will definitely set you apart from the rest of the pack when it comes to coolness. And while there are other quick access RFID blocking wallets out there, I think this one with this kind of motion that you just push is the slickest I've ever personally used. Of course, you have a nice minimalist design here that I can't also get enough of. You just have all the essentials here. So nowadays you're not carrying that much cash and the world is largely going into a more digital direction. So why not go with something like this? But the real star of the show is this guy right here behind the wallet. This is your Encre Chopolo tracker card, and I think this thing is quite awesome. You kind of just slide it in back there, and then you sync it to the Chopolo app on your iPhone and or Android. And from here, in case you misplace your wallet, you can actually find out where it is. So let me show you. So on the app, I can physically click on Ring to Find. And there you go. So wherever this is at, wherever you might have left it locally and or wherever, you'll always have access to it via the app, ensuring that you'll never lose the location of this wallet unless someone actually takes the tracker card out. But this thing works both ways too, because I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm working at home, I always seem to misplace my actual phone. And now I can use this right here in the tracker card's buzzer to actually find my phone locally if it's just nearby. So also check this out now. I'm going to double click the tracker card. Come on, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I have to give a big shout out to them for sponsoring this video. So what I'm saying is if you guys want, also support my sponsors because they're able to support this as far as furthermore financially. And just so you know, that love is furthermore reciprocated from our end. You'll get a discount on any of these great Encre wallets using my affiliate link in the description below. So it's specifically the Parliament wallet by Encre for the win. So there it is, forum. Hopefully you enjoyed this top 10 fall designer fragrances list. If you guys want to tell me in the comment section below, what are your top 10 fall fragrances? I'd really love to know. Is there one that you think I missed and should have put on this list? I'm always looking for new fragrances to try, if not perhaps review for you guys. So again, please tell me as well. Also, if you liked the video, leave this video a thumbs up. It really helps this thing get seen. And if you really enjoyed this video, also be sure to share this with your friends and loved ones too. I'd really appreciate it. If you've yet to subscribe and smash that like like button, please do so as well so you don't miss a thing. And I guess until that next one, that about does it for me. Thank you again for your ongoing support for him. Appreciate it. Take care for now. Peace out. Bye. Wear your fragrances.